Hi, today we are going to discuss about method overriding and overloading in Java. This is we are demoing by the live coding, and this is one of the common interview questions from the Java side. So we can start. So we already discussed about what is by overloading and overriding in Java. So this is nothing but to achieve the polymorphism. So this we broadly classified in the our previous we explained in previous videos about what is meant by the overriding and overloading. So there is a certain rules we need to follow in order to achieve this overriding. And also this is overriding is we will call as a dynamic polymorphism, and the other one that's overloading is called a static polymorphism. Okay, so this is widely we divided into the polymorphism, uh, and we talk about that the polymorphism, what and all about it. So let's start with what is the rule for overriding. So there is a certain rules that we supposed to follow, then only we can achieve the overriding. Okay, so first rule says that a method can only overwritten in subclass by extending the superclass and not in the same class. What it is mean by, actually, this overriding means, suppose there is a parent class is there, and we need to extend the parent class. So in Java, we are extending, or we are subclass, we are do the subclass by extending the parent class. So we generally use the keyword that is extends. Okay, and then after extending the parent class, then we will reuse the method from the parent, which means, say example, in parent class there is one method is they called a demo, then that demo name we are reusing in the subclass. Okay, that is called as a overriding. Okay, so let's understand by the coding itself. I have one Java project and I have one package com.java.training.override, and I have one method, in one class is the method over demo1, and here I created one class called as parents, and it has one method that is declared as the void. There is no return type for this time being, and its a method name is demo, and it is accepting one parameter, that is the type of string, and it is just printing the whatever the parameter or whatever the string we are passing into, just print with along with the message saying that parent class. Then there is another class is there that is called child, which is extending. So what we are doing by this extends means we are subclassing of parent by extending the keyword, using the extending extends the keyword. So child is a child class of the parents. Okay, then in order to achieve the overriding, we are reusing the same name of the parent, that is the demo. Okay, we exactly the same thing, and there is in previous parent class demo method printing message with the parent class, in the while in the subclass it is printing along with the message child class. Okay, so this method, demo method, here we override it. Okay, this is what called overriding. So that is the first rule, saying that a method can override subclass by extending the superclass, not in the same class. Here we didn't reuse the method in the same class, we reused it in the subclass. Okay, so that is the first rule. The second rule says that the number of argument list and type should be exactly same as the overriding method. What that means is that in order to achieve the overriding, okay, so in order to tell this demo method we are reused the number of arguments, here only one argument we are passing, so the same argument list, so here it should also the same, while here it is string, then here is also string, Not only that type, so we can say this is the string type, and the number of the parameter also should be matched. For example, if you do the string str2, then this demo method is not overriding the parent method. This is another method, some other method we created in the child class, which is not, I mean, which is not overridden or reuse the same functionality or same method from the parent. This is the another. So in order to achieve the overriding concept, it should be same parameter list and the type. Okay, so we can run this example. So I have one public class here, and its main method is there. So I'm printing. So I'm creating object parents p is equal to new parents, then p dot demo. I'm passing Vinay as a string. Just run this one. It will call the, it will say that this is the parent method, because this is the object we created. This is the object we created of type parents, and which is referred by the parent itself. Then we are calling the parent method. So that's why it is called as a parent class string. Then I'm creating another object, parents p2 is equal to new child. Okay, this time what will be printing? Binoid 2. See, the first one here, this is called, this is printed a parent class. This is, we are called, or we got the demo executed on the child class. Okay, so this is how, and you can see that we created the child object, but the type of that reference is referred by the parent, because this is a, we can create the type of a parent class, and then we can assign that parent class reference to the child object. Okay, then we called p2.demo. So while calling this p2.demo, it is executed of the child object, it's not the parent object. Okay, that's the reason here it is called p2. So that's the second rule, says that if we created, if the, for example, if the parameter list or parameter type is changed here, it will not be same as, I mean, as the parent one. Okay, this is entirely a different one. Okay, let's run this example. See, so actually we supposed to get the uh, override, we want to get the message from the execute from the this class, I mean the child class logic, but there is a parameter mismatch. What had happened is that it didn't find the exact method signature in the child class, but it has the visibility, or it has access in the parent class. That's the reason it is printed the parent method, or it executed the parent method. Okay, so in order to, why do we need to override this? Basically, say example, in real example or in real scenario, there will be parent class, some implementation will be there, but while do the for specific or in a specific child class, we there might be some alternative or some another job or some another logic, extra logic we supposed to execute. Okay, for that we are using the overriding. Okay, so if the method for that, if the parameter lists are changed, it couldn't find the exact method in the child class, then it will refer the, or it will be visibility, or it will print execute the parent method. So that's what the second rule says that. Similarly, if we change the type also, for example, integer, this case also, here is also one parameter, here is also one parameter, but this is a string and this is the integer. So that case also, it won't execute from the child. Okay, so that is what is called as a parameter type, should be matched exactly with the parent class. Then the another rule is that method declared as a final or private cannot be override. What does that mean is that if the method here declared as a private, then it cannot be, see, that's the reason here we can see that it cannot be override in the subclass. Okay, here we can say that this method only, if we use the private, means it is only visible in the class only. Okay, where, which is the class? That is a parent class. It will not be visible on the outside of this class. Okay, so that's the reason here this is showing that the from the type parent is not visible, which means why the parent is not visible? Because of the private keyword, that is the data access modifier, that is we already discussed. Okay, similarly, if it is a final also, what is the final keyword used? The final keyword used for the method, that is, if we declared as a method as a final, then it cannot be overridden in the child class. Okay, we can see that there is a one exception is saying that cannot override the final method from the parent. We tried to override this method. So whenever there is a keyword final, then that method cannot be override in the child class. So that is the third rule says about. Then the another rule says that the return type should be same or subtype of a return type declared in the overridden method. What it is means that here we used as a void. Okay, instead of that, the return type, whatever the return type here is, for example, if it is an integer, okay, or we can say that is string itself, string, I'm returning the string whatever we pass into. Okay, so this is saying that here we can see the overrides the demo. Here we are trying to override the demo method having the same signature. So that's the reason this is starting complaining. Okay, so in that case, here as well, it should return the same. Okay, it should return the same data type. Okay, same type. Here is also string, here is also string. Okay, so the type should be match. Either it should be subclass of the string. For example, I have one class as created, class A, and here I created class B, which extends class A. There is no method, but it is a example just to demo for the creating the subclass scenario. So this is a multi-level inheritance. So then I created one class C, which is extends B. Okay, so basically C is the subclass of B and B is a subclass of A. The superclass is here A. Okay, so here what I'm doing is, what is the rule says that if you returning a type, so here I'm trying to return a type of class A, then this also should return the type of class A or subclass. So what I'm here doing is I'm returning the same type here, new A. Okay, so here is also supposed to A, new A, because we are returning the same type object both side. Or if we in the case of here, this is the A, so either you need to return the same object or subclass of the A. What is the subclass of A? It is a B or C, correct? So if it is a B, then also it is fine, it won't complain anything. Okay, so that is what the second row saying. So if you run, it will execute successfully. Okay, I run the program and it is executed successfully. Okay, so this is what this rule says, that if you have the return type, either it should be same or subtype of the declared in the overriding. The another rule says that access modifier level cannot be more restrictive than the overriding method access level. What it is mean by access modifier? There is a, we already talked about the 4 modifiers, that is public, protected, default, and private. And we also discuss about the public has the more, I mean, very less restriction, or we can say that is that it doesn't have any restriction at all. But in the opposite side of the private has very restrictive access modifiers. Okay, so here, for example, if we didn't use, that is the default one, correct? So if I use here as a public, and if we didn't use anything here, means it is a default. So public has very less restriction, or we can say there is no restriction, correct? But here we can say that default access modifier we are using. Okay, so default will be visible on in the same package, correct? So default should not be, so we can, as compared to public, it is restrictive one. So it should not be a restrictive one, either it should be a public only. Okay, in reverse, for example, if it is a default one, that is a restrictive, but we are used, or we use the less restrictive, that is public. So in this case, this is a fine, because we are not using restrictive as compared to default, correct? So this is, there is no restriction if it is a public. So in this case, this is a valid scenario. So what is the rule says that the access modifier should not be more restrictive in the overriding method. Okay, it can be very less, or my access very less restriction access modifier can be used. That is the rule says that. Okay, then another example, I mean another rule says that about the exception type. What kind of a exception we can, what kind of exception we can use in the overriding method? Okay, there is a two kind of exception, that is we already discussed in our previous video in the exception in Java. So we talked about unchecked exception and checked exception. If you are not remember that, we can say that unchecked exception are subclass of either runtime exception or the subclass of the error and its subclasses. Okay, so runtime exception on the left hand side below the exception class here, or error, these are the unchecked exception. All other exception on the here IO exception, SQL exception, etc. are the checked exception. So there is a different rules for these two exception type. So let's check the one by one. Okay, What this rule says that an overriding method can throw any unchecked exception regardless whether the overriding method throws exception or not. What it means is here there is no exception declaration is there. So how do we declare the exception? Using the keyword throws, right? So here there is no throws clause are declared here. So here you can either you can throws the unchecked exception, correct? What is the unchecked exception? What is the unchecked exception? We can use any one of the here. So what is the common unchecked exception is that null pointer exception, correct? If you do the programming, there is most common exception you got in the while coding is will be the null pointer exception. Okay, if you do that, this is the null pointer exception is an unchecked exception. So if you throw the any unchecked exception in the overriding method, this is the overriding method, right? It is a valid scenario. Okay, so there is no complaint at all. If I run this, it will print. See, it will print the or it will execute the program, because why means this is a unchecked exception. But what is rule says then? But okay, and here you can do another example is say that here if it is, see, I'm using the arithmetic exception. That is also not an issue. So because this is a, I'm running the program. This is because this is a run an unchecked exception. That's the reason this rule is valid here. But if you are using in the case of checked exception, the rules something, I mean, a little bit difference is there. What it is saying that the checked exception, if we are using, it should not be it should not be more wider, which means it should throw the subclass of the or below in hierarchical lowest exception should throw in the uh, overriding method. Okay, what it is mean is that, for example, we can take one of the checked exception. We can say file operations, we will get file not found exception. Okay, so we can use that one here, file not found exception. Okay, if you use that, here it is again start complaining saying that unhandled exception type file not found. Okay, for that, this is because of we used this one, we used the method, so we need to handle this one. That is another issue. But in with respect to this, we are used here a checked exception. Why? Overriding this method, either you can avoid or you don't need to declare it, then that is a valid scenario. Okay, as you can see, if I run this example, okay, sorry, we are not printing anything here, we blocked here. We already seen that if we throws, that is also an indication to the calling method that it is either throw the file not exception. So either you need to try you, I mean, I need to handle the exception by using the try catch, or you just tell the compiler that this method also will throw the file not found exception, okay, to make the compiler happy. So this will print the statement. So here you can see that in the checked exception, if you declare the checked exception, you either you can skip that declaration, or if you are if you want to use the, or if you want to declare the checked exception, it should be either same, what means same type, file not found exception, or it should be subclass of the file not found exception. What is the superclass of the file not found exception? It is a IO exception. Say example, if I am throwing IO exception here, what will happen? It will complain. Say the overriding multiple markers at this point. What is a exception? IO exception is not compatible with the throws clause in the parent.demo. That is the difference. What it is means that if the parent class has the exception, which is the subclass of this IO exception, which means that this IO exception is the broader exception as compared to file not found exception. So this is not acceptable. So either you don't need to declare here, or if you are declaring, it should be the subclass, either the same type of the exception or the subclass of the exception, whatever you declared in the parent class. So we need to, in order to run this method, we need to be either it should be same. So here I made it a same and I'm running the program. It's print the messages. Okay, so that is the rules related to exception. Then another rule says that static method cannot be overridden. What is meant by static method? So the static method is nothing but it is not related to any object. If you use the static keyword along with the method, that method can be called using the class name, which means that method you can accessible with the class name. So that method is linked, or that method is you can access in the class level, okay, not in the object level. So there is no point in uh, I mean overriding these static methods. Okay, what it means is that if I declare static here, sorry, static here, okay, it says that this instance method cannot override static from the parents. Okay, so from the parents it cannot be uh, static method cannot be override. So in order to make the compiler happy, I'm putting the static here. Okay, so I'm running this example. So previously we got these two messages. Now let's see what is going to get. Hey, here it is changed. Here you can see both are printed from the parent class. Why that is happened? Because see here you created the class, or you created the parent object here, but that parent object is referred by the parent reference, parent data type, right? So this is the parents p. So this is the type of parent which is referring to the parent object. So that's the reason this is getting printed. In the second object, even though it is a child object which is referred by the parent, so this parent dot demo means, which is the referring to, this is referring to parent class. Parent class demo means this is a static. So which one will print? The parent demo will get printed. That is what I mean by, in order to call the method static method, we don't need any object. See, we don't need this object at all. Even though if we call with the p2 directly, you, what is the p2 here? P2 is the parent, correct? So parent class the type, if you directly call, you will get this example. I mean, you will get the, you can call the parent method. So if a static method, it is not related to the object type rather than the parent class reference type. Whatever be the value, I mean, whatever be the referring to the object, I mean, the reference variable. Instead of here, if you use the child, then it will print the child class. it will print the child class. Okay, so that is what it is, the difference. The another example also, for example, parents p3 is equal to null. It is not referring to any object here. Then if I call p3 dot demo binoid 3, what will be the printing statement? See, still we are getting the parent method getting called. That is what I mean by, even though this is not referring to any object, whatever the variable, this variable is referring to the parent, and then that parents demo will be getting executed. So there is no point in overriding that one. That is all about. The another one is the constructor cannot be overridden. Then constructor cannot be overridden means, what is the mean by constructor? Constructor is nothing but it will have the same name as the parent, correct? So in order to create the constructor of parent, the constructor, how will be the syntax of the constructor? It should have the any of the access specifier, I mean access modifier, correct? Then there will not be any return type. Instead of that, we then it should have the same name as the class name. So this is the constructor. Okay, so definitely the constructor cannot be overridden in the child class. Okay, so that is what it is mean by. The another example says that the overriding method from the different package only override non-final methods declared public and protected. What it is mean by, say I have here for example, in this package com.java.training.override, there is one class is there, that is nothing but a parent. I created a parent and it has the one method that is called as the print method. So here I have one method called print, and it will print one message that is saying that printing. And I have another package that is method com.java.training.override, and it has one class. It is called method override from different package, which extends the parent one. Okay, so here I have one method which is the has the as a specify here, it is the protected, and here also I'm using the same. Okay, so either it should be, what the rule says, either it should be protected or it should be public. Okay, if it is the case of it is not defined anything here, it will start complaining saying that it should be different package inherited method should, I mean, since it is saying that it is a private, because in the different package it is a different package, even though if we import here it is not visible, correct, because this is the default. So it should be either it is a public or protected, then it won't complain. Okay, because here you can see that this is a public and here we use the protected, because as if we use the protected means it is more restrictive, so that's the reason it is complaint. If it is a public, it won't complain anything. Okay, so it will print the, or it will execute the program. So that is what this rule is saying that, and it should not be not final. And if it is a final here, if it is public final, even though it is a final, what it means that this final means it should not be overridden in the subclass. It will stay, it will say the complaint is saying that it is a final method and it should not be, cannot be overridden in the a subclass. Okay, so it should not be final, and if it is not a final, then only the protected and the public as specifiers are only override in the subclass in the different package. So this is about the rules for the overriding. Thank you.
If you like the video, please click the like button and subscribe for more videos.